We're waiting for you to do your woosaw thing to the camera.
What's a woosah thing?
It's where you practice what you're about to say and you run through it in your mouth.
You got a politically correct cup now, Xander? What's that? Is that gender neutral cup or what is it?
What do you mean? It's Homer.
Oh, it's home. Oh, sorry. It looked like a gender neutral toilet from far. Sorry about that.
All right, everybody, welcome to Cyber Bulls. We got the whole gang here. This is the Bulls. We've got Alexandra Mertz, Jeff Lutz, and Xander Sky. The main topic today is with 8.8 coming, Robotaxi coming down. We're seeing so many updates with FSD. One of the good questions to ask is, what did Elon see? What did Elon see at the time that he made the decision? Let's go and, make an announcement on August 8th. Let's go and make some major reorganizations. Let's go and invest significant amount of money, and let's go forward all this at this point. It looks like that they are able to see at least 4 to 6 months ahead in terms of the capabilities of FSD. He must have seen something. Maybe he saw 12.5, maybe he saw 12.6, and he saw that we're on our way. Let's start with you, Jeff. What do you think that Elon saw? The company and the product. Don't look at the quarterly stock movement.
A very realistic bull, questioning certain decisions.
The rational bull. We enjoy listening to bears.
Looking for the red flags. You're supposed to react.
Yeah. Elon and the team have access to unbelievable amounts of data from the fleet and also unbelievable amounts of data of the builds that they're working on inside of, their four walls. And what does that mean? These builds are going through various unit testing, system testing, and these builds are being trained on models. And what we're driving around with, this 1.12.3.6, may have been trained months ago, for all we know. And we don't know what level of constraints there were on the compute capacity. Elon's recently said that they're now not compute constrained. So now it's about all this data coming in, and now the interventions are becoming more and more rare. So it's about grabbing the data with the intervention and then solving the problem and correcting it in training. And that's the loop that they're in now. And so now it's at an interesting stage. Now it's not necessarily well, it still is about getting, as many miles as possible, but it's about getting quality miles where they can find these interventions and fix these issues. So they're kind of at a stage that some of these other companies they haven't even been able to enter this stage yet. So they're definitely seeing stuff. We're driving, again, we're not driving something that's more recent. So 12.4, when was that trained? What's in that? It also looks like he's talked about some new features, right? Fleet, where the fleet can actually talk to one another and say if there's a dead end, a Tesla encounters that, which is kind of a deviation from the current map, that they can inform other vehicles in the fleet and update them. So these are, to me, there's feature to anytime you're doing software development, system level development, you've got to get the feature complete. You've got to drive the bugs down, and you've got to get something out there that's stable. And it looks like they're kind of just on a whole new iteration paradigm with this end-to-end system. So they got to get the features in. It sounds like we're hearing about new features that would be coming over 12.4, 5, and 6. He's also talked about the nag being removed, which I think people need to understand that there's still a cabin camera, and it's still going to want you to be looking forward and paying attention to driving, I believe. So I think that's still going to be there, but maybe the steering wheel portion of the nag may be removed. Let's see. Tesla's certainly pushing the issue. They have the data. They're ready to have the right conversations with NHTSA. I think what we see in media versus what's happening at the working level may be two different things. I think Tesla has a respect for NHTSA, and I think NHTSA has a respect for Tesla and the work that they're doing. And that does not satisfy a media narrative. The media narrative wants conflict. They want to be able to write articles, talk about recalls, talk about investigations and so forth. But I think at the working level, I think there's a mutual respect, and there's a level of progress happening at the working level. So I think Elon is seeing the question. What is Elon seeing? He's seeing tremendous progress that we have not seen yet. And I think he's also seeing some features that can be added that make the fleet smarter, probably kind of the minimum viable things that are needed for a robotaxi network. I do think you probably would need that fleet communication for a proper robotaxi network. So this is exciting. I think he's seeing stuff that we're going to see, over a series of months. This is the kind of the internal development process. Just because it goes to internal employees like, this week, doesn't mean that, that's all Tesla's working on for the last week or two. They're working, a couple of stages well in advance of that. And so I think he's seeing that and we're about to see it.
Yeah. There's a paragraph I'm going to show that Elon said, that this paragraph came from the book Walter Isaacson. And this is what he said. This Lord Pretty Flacco, a user on X, his username is SMD capital 00. Just a couple things that I've been using over and over again. And this was one that I just liked. He pulled this out from the book. This will be this is Elon saying this. This will be a historically mega revolutionary product. It will transform everything. This is the product that makes Tesla a $10 trillion company. People will be talking about this moment in 100 years. The other thing that this Lord Pretty Flacco created was this table. This is just April 1st to April 28th. And these are all the events that happened regarding FSD, all the way from, Ashok's tweets. It's the beginning of the end. You've got announcing the 1 billion miles of FSD driven. Then, of course, Elon tweeted out unveil on August 8th. This is just April 5th. This is just a month ago. And then second, in terms of compute, FSD's reduction to 99 dollars per month. Then you got the releases of 12.3.4, 12.3.5, 12.3, 12.3.6. These are moving very, very fast. Alexander, do you want to talk about the speed, what you're expecting next? If you want to answer, what did Elon see? And also answer, I think this Lord Pretty Flacco, right?
Yes, I know Justin quite well. We've been in contact over the last 3-4 years. He's been trading options for a long time. Then he changed his handle for a while because he had a very nice charity project that I'm sure he should talk about. But before he changed it to his charity project, which he kept open for about a year and a half, he had an excellent study and a model for the robotaxi business. And I've actually asked him a couple of days before now to republish that. And he said, well, it needs some adjustments. And it's true that Yashar's model is very good as well, and maybe presented in a more easy way to understand than his. But I think we should all push Justin a little bit to republish his model. It was the first one 2 years ago that really got me interested in this whole robotaxi business model, and I think he was spot on. Very smart guy. Follow him. He's really one of my favorites. Not an easy guy. I mean, if he has a grief against somebody, he really makes it clear that he has issues with people. But see beyond that, because the value he brings is much better. He actually also asked in 2022 a question to Elon in the shareholder meeting then. I think it's his pinned post, so that's interesting to see as well. So anyway, so let's just go a little bit back what Jeff said. Jeff, you're completely right. The relationship with Nashta is really good because remember, and I'm not saying that they will give a pass to Tesla for anything. That's not true. But remember when we had these Super Bowl ads by Dan O'Dowd, where he claimed stuff that was just not true on the Nashta level, they immediately called him out, and he had to withdraw that part. So they are actively helping Tesla, not just being neutral. But that doesn't mean that they will just give Tesla slack on things that are important for security. But I completely agree with Jeff that there must be a very good, deep understanding and working relationship. So whenever we hear the media go way beyond, what Nashta is asking from Tesla and how this is the end of the end and another end, just put that into moderation. The second thing on the timeline, remember second half of August last year, so by August this year, it's going to be a year. We had that drive from Elon in the Silicon Valley neighborhood, and that was already 12.3 3 point something. I mean, we only got it, the ones that are not on 2024.8.9, but the ones that are on 2024.3, we only got it in spring of this year. So I actually think it's more than 4 months that they're ahead. I think this could be rather 6 months. And when he announced the date of August 8th, that was in April, in reaction to that, and again, false article by Reuters. I mean, can't even count how many false articles by Reuters we have. We've had some more since. But when he announced that date, it was obviously a date that was already prepared, and it's a date, it's very special to him. He explained it. It has obviously the meaning in the Chinese culture, China becoming very important in the Robotaxi rollout. It's also the birthday of some of his children. So it's, it just, when people said, oh, he's now improvising something on a Friday afternoon because he got put under pressure by Reuters, not at all. He probably released that date a bit earlier than he wanted to, but the planning up for that date has been in the making for a long time. I'm still unsure how big that presentation is going to be on August 8th. I don't think we can even fathom how big of a business this robotaxi business is going to be worldwide. And we'll see whether it rolls out first in China, whether it rolls out first in certain states of the United States. But there have not been more exciting times of being a Tesla investor. And one measure by which you can actually feel it is the FUD and the nervosity, the aggressivity of the Tesla Q people out there. I don't know whether you all feel it, but I mean, they're after me all the time, and I've been on a blocking spree just because I can't handle it anymore. But these people are nervous like they've never been nervous before, or maybe pre-2020, but it's been a couple of years. And so while you see people still parading on CNBC, wanting to short Tesla and whatever, let them be. This is going to be the most glorious return that they're going to get. And it's only a couple of months away. We're now less than 3 months away from August 8th.
Yeah, 3 months away from August 8th. The confidence level from Tesla and Elon is just accelerating. I mean, we just keep seeing so many things happening. We'll talk about the even other parties like BP, the oil giant. Just this morning, they made an announcement that they're going to try to buy as many, real estate as possible and expand Superchargers. But the confidence level is moving fast. How about you, Xander? What's your thoughts on what did Elon see and the progress that we're seeing?
Yeah, I mean, these guys covered a lot of it, but I think about how obviously the no nag is huge. It'll make the product a lot more user friendly. You still need to pay attention, but this fleet communication thing is something that I've thought about a lot over the years, and how neat it would be to have the car coming up on traffic, the car in front of it sees it and just communicates it, and it obviously knows everything every other Tesla that's around it, or any other car that will be available on the network in the future. So and how efficient that is for for transporting people. So I think that the car reversing is a big deal. Like Elon made a joke about the cars bottling up in it, down an alleyway or a construction zone or something like that. So I really like that this is happening. Alexandra just touched on the FUD that's out there. When we were at the 140s, I posted something about how like I felt it then already, and this is before the Robotaxi stuff, that they're making their last stand, and they're going to try to push it as hard as they can, and we rocketed to 200, and that just kind of showed us, right, that the sentiment is shifting, and like this week is totally flat. It's interesting to watch, and we closed the gap that we left on that Robotaxi announcement today. So So yeah, tomorrow will be an interesting options day, but yeah, I won't get into that. I know how much people love options.
uh, I don't
You're,
think we heard him say that there's car-to-car communication. I think it's fleet to map and then map to fleet. What did you guys hear?
I didn't, analyze it to the point where I probably should, but it has to be fleet to map, right? Because just imagine later on, a couple of months, you have your app, you want a Robotaxi, you push the button, say I want it now, or I want it in 5 minutes or in 2 hours. Something has to happen, right? The mothership, the central station, has to identify which car is gonna take this on. So there has to be communication, not only between one car and the central unit, but also between other cars. Who is available, who is I don't know what happens to cars that are not available 24 hours a day. I don't know how you will insert into the information that your car is available for the next 2 hours, but not thereafter. So all this has to be mapped, and all this has to be coordinated, and there has to be communication between all of them.
Yeah, I'm just fast forwarding a year from now. I always try to play out this scenario. Let's say it's May 9th, 2025. Look at the progress we've seen over the last month or two. Now interpolate that it's not going to be linear too, by the way. We're not experiencing linear progress right now. It's been pretty tremendous. If you think of the first 12, 1, to where we are today. I just like to fast forward a year from now. When I think about the stock, I think about the markets, I think about the maturity of the company and its offerings. Where will we be a year from now? And a year from now, how will these cars be driving? Will it basically be, so human-like that you would want to do 100% of your drives on FSD? Will that allow the cost structure to get to a certain point where you've got ubiquitous sign up of it? And I always like to fast forward a year from now, because that's when you're thinking about when you're thinking about investing, you're thinking about where things could be. There's the here and now, there's the current quarter, there's people counting ships and doing all that other stuff, and that's fine. And they should, and there should be, and there's people that like to trade, day in, day out, weekend, and that's fine. But at some point, you're going to be off sides. And so when I look at the solution, I look at what they're doing right now. They have an engineering solution to find edge cases faster than anybody at a volume that greater than anybody can acquire, and then solve them. And that is solving self-driving. That's what solving self-driving is. And then they have a cost structure to deliver the solution to people that others can't. The other self-driving vehicles are location limited and $100,000 plus. So I'm just trying to fast forward to where are we a year from now, and what were the decisions that were made 5 years ago to enable where we are today. And it's pretty mind-boggling. And so anyway, that's what I like to think about. Where will we be a year? Where will we be even 6 months from now? It's pretty exciting to just think about that. And then if you own a Tesla right now, all your vehicles are, will be enabled to experience that. I think it's just pretty exciting. So whether it's fleet car to car, whether it's fleet to map, it's where are we going to be 6 months from now? What other features are we not even thinking about that Tesla's thinking about? They're not going to stop development at 8.8. They're going to keep going and keep improving the offerings here. So it's pretty exciting to think about it.
And remember a couple of months ago, we had this feature added that when you were driving towards a supercharger, it told you how many other cars are also preparing to drive to that supercharger. That's just one of the many things that will be used to manage availability of robotaxis. Because the problem we have with robotaxis, like with any other taxi, is you may have ordered a taxi, but the taxi that was supposed to be there in 5 minutes may be stuck in traffic, or may be delayed. And so I think with the system Tesla is building, these issues will be managed much more close to time than anything else we have out there, so that people really have in real time or in planned time the availability of the cars they need.
Yeah, what's the power management system called that does it in real time for the rates? I'm blanking.
Oh, you mean for the energy
For energy.
pricing?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's called something bitter.
Yeah,
Bitter.
Autobitter.
There you go.
That's it. Good job. Good job.
Teamwork
Yeah.
next.
So that's what I'm thinking about. It's just like the ability for it to, I didn't mean car to car. I mean, obviously everything goes through the cloud. So yeah, like that ability to in real time make the right decision, reroute, send a different car, whatever it is. I think that Tesla has a real advantage with their software.
Yep.
So, when we look at what's happening, I have a feeling we're going to see a lot of partnerships, a lot more partnerships falling into place, because all of these things are now nearing completion, now nearing launch. And so we saw, we'll talk about BP, right? But don't you guys have that sense also that even now, like this is 2024, from now to the end of 2024, we're going to hear a lot more partnerships. It could be licensing of FSD. It could be, somebody taking over the Superchargers. It can be like, Uber, Hertz, like they need to find their place. I did a show where we're watching Uber CEO, right, coming out and talking about it. When you watch him, he's careful, but you can see that he says, Tesla's amazing, they're incredible, but we are amazing too. We have some skills too. Yeah, but what's your role? How are you going to play in all this? And I think Tesla's in a perfect spot, and everybody's watching them, and they're wanting to see, what do they want? What do they need? When you say, Jeff, that what's going to be like a year from now, right? It's going to be a lot of partners, don't you think? And then, how Alexandra and I love the term auto, and, hail me an auto. And the reason is because an auto could mean not just a Tesla car. It could mean, a partner who decided to license the FSD with them. And it, still an auto. It's a car. You know what I mean? So it's like an automated car. It's perfect for a perfect name. Yeah.
Where I agree with you, Herbert, is I feel Elon is showing an incredible confidence in his choices, because he's making some very hard choices at the moment, be it the reduction of the workforce, be it the focus, because he reiterated that Wednesday on X again, the focus is on FSD. If somebody doesn't believe in Robotaxi and FSD, he shouldn't be invested in Tesla. So these hard choices that hurt people that are let go, that hurt people that, would like to see a priority of a smaller car first or whatever, because it just is so disruptive what he's doing again. This shows competitors or service partners or whatever, whoever else it is, his confidence. So they have to today make the hard choice on their end. Do they take the gamble to believe Elon? And you better do, because the last 10, 15 years have shown who is always right and who is not, right? He may be late, but he's always right. Or meaning this is a gamble, meaning you position yourself. We will talk about BP in a second, but this is true for so many others, FSD partners or whatever. Do you now jump over your hesitation and your comfort zone to go and do that, or do you let competitors do it? Because what BP did today, well, Shell is now going to be second, or whoever else is thinking about that is not going to be the number one anymore. And the way this was rolled up this morning, because I was looking at it initially, I said, what, they're taking over all the Superchargers? I don't believe that, but I think they want to do expansions, because that's what gas stations know how to do. I mean, you have to give it to them. There are gas stations everywhere. So they know, they can identify where the needed consumer is and purchase that, or find one of their franchisees. Most of them are organized in a franchise system, and then build out what they think the infrastructure should be. It may not look like the Tesla infrastructure, but the charger is going to be there. So the fact that they're jumping on this and making this so official, that's BP for the charging. There will be partners, maybe different ones for insurance. There will be partners, of course, for servicing of the car. I know that Jeff believes that lots of it will be automated, but there will be still stuff that is going to be, necessity. There may be fleet operators, whatever. So all these people that have been waiting patiently thinking this through, suddenly see a Elon that is so determined and does the hardcore choices that hurt him, that hurt Tesla, that hurt the current workforce. I mean, it's never nice to have colleagues seeing go, but see him do it with such a rigor and such a, strong hand makes these people aware that this is probably the moment to do it. So I agree with you, Herbert. I think the next couple of months are going to be full of surprises in this direction.
Yeah, that's a great point, Alexander. I wanted to add something. This morning, I decided to take a look at Lyft and Uber, and looked at their valuations. And Uber's worth $7 billion. Lyft is worth only $7 billion. Uber's worth $141 billion. So Tesla doesn't need Uber, and the CEO will talk nicely to try to perhaps get a partnership or something like that. But I just don't see that in Tesla's wheelhouse. I think that they're going to vertically integrate, and they have the data and the ability to roll it into their app. So the forward PE for Uber is 51.49, and Tesla's worth 550 billion, and its forward PE is 59. So like they're relatively close. So you could just roll that right into Tesla's valuation easily. But like how is Uber going to survive here? I don't see it. I think once Tesla enters the market, it's going to be a tough.
Can we do a panel
Well-
thing? Because I do hear so many people think that Uber's going to be very successful, and then there's some people who think that Uber's going to be dying. Who here thinks that Uber is going to succeed?
My opinion.
Do we all think Uber's going to?
Yeah, long term, no. I don't think they can.
No, Jeff? No?
Short term, yes. Long term, no.
Yeah,
I mean,
well,
too.
that's more. I mean, and for me, it's long term, because America is huge. The world is huge. Until the robotaxis have taken over. Sorry, I'm speaking German. Have taken over all the Ubers. That's gonna take time. But and Uber has a certain market penetration, right? That there is a need for Uber. There's actually a much bigger need than we currently have. That's why robotaxi is going to be so interesting. But in the long term, once robotaxis are in all countries, it's going to be very difficult for them, because the cost of personnel is just so horrendous everywhere.
Yeah, what are they offering? Their ability to send cars, or they have data. They just have brand penetration is really what it comes down to, in my opinion. And then ultimately, Tesla can replicate it. What's the moat? And Jeff, I'd love to hear if you have any thoughts on a moat for Uber. What am I missing?
Well, they have the data. They have that kind of that last few feet of like, what's that experience? Because right now Teslas take you to an address. They don't necessarily get you to the right point yet. So there's some short-term things I think that need to be worked through. But I think, this is a game of chess happening. There's a lot of leverage happening. There's a lot of pressure being put on. Tesla's showing that screenshots of a ride-hailing app, in their earnings deck, probably didn't sit well with a lot of people. So there's a message there, which could be like short term. Hey, let's work together. You have data that's interesting to me, and then I have a service and a cost structure that may be interesting to you, and then see how it works over time. Because again, a lot of this is about utilization, and what you want to do is, whether you're in the Tesla network or you're in the Uber network, you want to be oversubscribed, and you don't want to be at like 30% utilization. You're oversubscribed, your costs are super high to consumers, it's not a good experience, and so forth. If you're super undersubscribed, your costs become a problem, and consumers, they get a great deal, but you have a gross margin problem. So a lot of this challenge in the ride hailing, in the ride sharing space, is around off-peak management and utilization, and like get everybody getting their fleet to nominal utilization, where they get the best cost structure and they get the best experience for consumers. So there will be some period of time where Uber is going to have the data that Tesla needs, that last, few hundred feet experience. I think there'll be a period of time where that's useful, and as well as utilization and load balance sharing. But over time, the moat may start, fading, is what I see happening.
And Tesla will acquire that data quickly because it's one fleet, right?
Yeah, I mean, it'll take some time, but I don't know how quickly. But the one other thing just about the moat, if you look at who is buying compute and who is like basically racking and stacking and utilizing compute, Tesla is going to the top here of this list over this next year period, and no other automaker is even on the list. And the stuff that, and I want to speak about, there's another company in the Bay Area that's buying compute that I can't speak to about on the show per se, but all I'll say is like they're buying it for something else. They're not necessarily buying it for ride sharing. So I don't know. I mean, you have to think like we got your original question, Herbert, about partnerships. And you're either in this race and you're buying compute and like you're going to go do it, and you've got the team, you got the development, you've got the architecture, you're going to do it, or you're going to be partnering with someone like a Tesla. And that's not to say that there won't be eventually something else. There's this company in the UK that's working on, I have no idea like what stage of development or what stage of maturity their actual end product is at. But it's not to say that there eventually won't be something else ever. It's a question of what's that period of time, and what's that, and how long would it take for you to acquire that, or literally put yourself out of, like, will you put yourself out of business if you don't partner with Tesla, or with you don't have a path to getting yourself to an autonomous solution in time? Will you actually put yourself out of business? So they played chicken with EV, and so far, like, they've been able to kind of like keep themselves in business. And then they invested, and now they've reduced investments. I think people need to be clear about EV. Like, they're not like, they didn't zero out their investments. They've ramped them up to some massive level. Now they pulled them back. So they played chicken with EV, and they've been able to figure out how to last a little bit longer. I don't know if they're playing chicken with this or not, but they have to look at like what they're doing, what Tesla has, and like, do they have a plan to close the gap or not? If not, you've got a partner.
Yeah, and
Right.
what I would like to add, if we talk superchargers now, is, what Tesla did with the superchargers is obviously phenomenal. But what I do think is still missing is some of the superchargers just have no infrastructure. There's no gas station little shop where you have the restrooms and where you can relax a little bit. They did that with some, but then quickly gave up that was not Tesla's priority. So, there is room for many people to do this differently, and in some ways better, more comfortable. There is room for supercharging stations in urban situations, in towns, because people may have that real estate today, because let's go back to the gas stations, because currently they have a gas station, but they may want to reduce the gas station. Gas station management, they know darn well how many pumps they need, how much room they need. And if they see that this is actually declining, they may give up some of the space they currently have for the gas pumps and give it to EV chargers, or put the EV chargers to the back, or don't do the cleaning, or whatever else, right? So many other players. I'm just talking now about the superchargers, but so many other players actually have some characteristics that could be very interesting, but Tesla is not interested in developing, and that's the moment to partner. And I just want to come back to my earlier point. When you see an Elon confident, when you know this 8th of August is coming, that's where you're thinking this through. Because if you don't do it, if BP is not doing it, Shell is going to do it. If GM is not going to do it, Ford is going to do it. Nobody lives here without any competition. And at one moment, you will have to think whether you want to be leading this or whether you want to be a follower. Remember how it went for the NACS adoption? This is exactly the same.
I love it. Okay,
Yeah,
so we just covered what did Elon see. We're going to talk about beefy superchargers. Sorry, Jeff, did you want to say something?
No, I'll cover it in the supercharger section. No problem.
Okay. Yeah, let's cover this because, let me say the news first, and then we'll talk about what did this really mean, and did Elon actually see this, right? He saw this before this happened. Of course he does. So this is BP. They're a UK or European brand, but they also have quite a bit of presence, of course, in US as well. And this is their CEO of the North American division was interviewed by Bloomberg. Now, this title here is, I think, very misleading, but basically says that BP is keen on buying Tesla supercharging sites for U.S. expansion. I think what they meant is that BP is going to buy real estate that they're going to put Tesla superchargers on, not that they're going to buy the existing supercharger sites. Let's take a look. But if you look to actually what the CEO said, it didn't say anything at all about any partnership with Tesla, except for the buying of those chargers. And so this is going to be branded by BP. They had already made this announcement in February of last year. Well, they're going to spend $100 million, and they bought $100 million worth of Tesla superchargers. And their plan was to, by 2030, have $1 billion worth of superchargers. That's what they intended to do. So this is, it says here, they're eager to snap up Tesla supercharging sites. I think that these are sites, real estate that they'll buy, that they'll turn into supercharging sites for Tesla. And then along with the workers behind them, that's the 500 people that Tesla let go. They want to hire them if they could. That's what this is all about. So this is the Sujay Sharma, the chief executive officer. And then what he said was, we are aggressively looking to acquire real estate to scale our network, which is a heightened focus following the recent Tesla announcement. So I think the assumption here is that because Tesla said, hey, we're not going to focus on superchargers, expansion, then BP goes, it's a great opportunity for me to do this now, spend $1 billion, half of it within the next 2 to 3 years. So that's $500 million they're going to spend over the next 2 to 3 years, 3,000 charging sites. They call them giga hubs, and they're looking for real estate partners. And it says, if you have real estate, give us a call. Call me, look me up on LinkedIn. So this is, this pullback from the EVs, the charging networks that people were doing, this opens it up for Tesla to do this as well. And then, the strong incentive for the competitors to try to hire those 500 people that go. So in February, like I said last year, they'd already invested and they bought $100 million of Tesla's fast charging. So doesn't this all kind of like start to make sense a little bit here, right? Elon announces that we're going to let go of the 500 people because we can have partners. These are the guys that should spend the money. It should be like Starbucks says, I want to have more superchargers. It should be hotels, and it should be BP. So he knew that, why are we spending the money? So I don't know if this means that there's a partnership with BP, but it certainly means, we don't have to be here. The other argument that I've been having with people, though, is doesn't it make sense that it is an oil and gas company that's going to do the fleet management, not just the charging, but the fleet management, the cleaning of the cars, the maintenance of the cars, because it doesn't make sense that it's Hertz. Could be, because I guess they do charging already, but it doesn't make sense that it's Uber. What do you guys think about that?
Can I address first the first part of your expose? Thank you for all that. First of all, I think $1 billion is not a lot of money. 500 million over the next 2 or 3 years is not a lot of money. And I told you last fall when they announced 100 million, I remember you gave me this dark Herbert Ong look. I found 100 million not a huge deal. Remember that? And you were like, you're spoiling my fun, Alexandra. I do that from time to time. So anyway, so $1 billion to me doesn't look like, a huge amount of money, but they're throwing it out there, which is obviously important because them throwing it out there will trigger lots of other people triggering it. And remember last fall when that came, then we had suddenly the Choice hotels doing it, the Hilton hotels doing it. So you are right. This is a first in getting other industries, interested and getting it done. And you're right. This started a while ago, and Elon obviously saw it. I still don't think it was necessary to fire the whole team, and I hear they're rehiring some of it. So I think that was a little bit more short-tempered than all planned out. But be it whatever it is, we can only speculate about that part. But to get back to BP, earmarking $1 billion for expansion of this is just, absolutely normal good sense for them. I have no idea, I've never looked at BP's balance sheet, but they must have, hundreds and thousands of billions in real estate worth of their gas stations, which are losing value not because an appraiser is giving them less value, but because they're selling less gas. They've gone through 4 years through the pandemic and then through higher gas prices and obviously the rise of EVs, feeling the burn over the last 4 or 5 years of having less clients at the pump. So it's only normal good sense for them to diversify. And the partnership has been initiated and is going on now. But you're right, this is actually not even a partnership. This is a client purchasing the Tesla material and Tesla selling them at whatever price the electricity and juice that's going to be sold to the client. I don't know whether actually BP has the handle on the client putting electricity in their car, or whether it's just an arrangement where they sub-rent their space to Tesla. I'd be very interested to actually understand how their contract works. Who is the owner of this? I don't think Tesla is just giving it away for free, but then again, maybe one of those subjects on my long list of things that they shouldn't give away for free. But all that to say is, this is great. I love that they're helping the expansions. The world is big and needs many more superchargers, and if they want to do their share of it. But for them, it is actually a defensive model B of their business plan. They have to do something and may as well embrace it and be part of it rather than waiting for much longer.
Jeff, you want to go?
Sure. Yeah, I think the whole supercharger saga that's played out over the last 2 weeks is a capital allocation exercise, and it's a redirection of the company. And I was openly questioning last summer the agreements. You had, CEOs of Ford and GM coming on TV saying, yeah, we were going to spend $400 million on charging, and now, we don't have to. Tesla's, so magnanimous, and they've donated this. And at the time I could see through, like, okay, this is a utilization play. Tesla wants to improve utilization. They improve utilization. They bring more revenue in. They take their fixed costs down, and their cost to serve is lower. And this is a better kind of economical picture for them than not having this business coming in. And I still agree with that, but I think they could have extracted a lot more because of the opportunity capital cost that these other companies were able to save. So I called it, like in my notes, charity chargers. I wasn't a big fan of that. I'm still not a big fan of that today, but I know there was kind of a bigger thing happening. But
Charity charger.
I think it could have been. I'm not smarter than Tesla. I'm not smarter than the leadership team, but this one I'd love to understand better. But this all comes down to their cost structure. So I hope Tesla still has a very strong underlying design and manufacturing business for superchargers, because it looks like in the bidding process that they are killing the competition. And as long as you're doing that, whether you're managing the services and you're managing the product management and the sell-in and all that, maybe that's the stuff that they needed to get rid of or downsize dramatically. But I hope on they figure out where their competitive mode is, which it sounds like is efficient engineering, design, performance, and manufacturing. And I hope they're doing that, because they could build and sell a lot of these and make a tremendous amount of money on them as the world expands. And maybe they white label or do this. So the BP thing, like I said earlier, I think this is a hedge for oil and gas companies, and their hedges could be in the hundreds of millions or low single-digit billions of dollars, and they could decide to grow that hedge over time relative to their business. The U.S. hit peak oil over the last 2 years. We have not used the number of barrels per week. I think we hit peak over the last 2 years. I ICE and hybrid sales hit peak in 2018. So they have to see the writing on the wall. They have to introduce it in the form of a hedge, and then the hedge could potentially grow into a much larger position. This is how I see this playing out.
I love it.
Yeah, I was going to add that it's if BP is an energy company, Alexandra was wondering how it would work. The way I see it is that they, like Jeff said, they need to enter the market, and Tesla doesn't care if it's branded with BP or the Tesla logo, as long as the customers can get charged up wherever. So that competition on energy prices. I wonder, do they? I know that they make agreements with landlords to put the superchargers wherever they want, but the obviously the energy they pay for through the whatever utility contracts that they have. So here you could have BP undercutting or bringing down the cost, and then that might drive people towards their brand and their shops or wherever. So it's definitely a real estate. The way I view it is that they want to buy real estate and then put supercharging there. But the 500 million is just an equipment, right? That's what.
I think it includes the real estate, and that's why I think it's actually not that much.
Really?
Okay.
Yeah, $1 billion.
Yeah.
That's not a lot.
I think the difference between the iPhone versus Android is that Apple wanted to be a closed garden. Tesla and Elon and the mission is not closed garden. They're willing to, license their FSD. They're willing to license their software. Once they have Robotaxi launched, they're going to want to get this out as fast as possible, to as many partners as possible, as many countries as possible. But obviously, it's going to be, timed and all that. I'm not saying it's going to happen all in 6 months, but they're going to partner. And he already said, I need to find fleet managers. It's not something that we can do everything at the same time. And this is what I mean by, are we thinking that in the next 6 months, we're not going to hear anything from anybody? No. I think that we're not only going to hear one licensing partner or two, maybe two licensing partners, we're going to hear more of these. We're going to hear more of these kinds of partnerships coming into play. People raising their hands and trying to beg Tesla, please choose me. I want to be the partner that's going to help you roll out Robotaxi. It's going to be a land grab, and it's going to happen quickly.
So in that case, look, can we revisit the Uber question? If they are open to partnerships, then it does make sense that they would work with them. Does it not?
They already do work a little bit with them. Remember, there were always these preferable deals where Hertz bought the car and then gave it to the Uber driver for a special deal to operate it as an Uber. So I think there is already stuff in the making. I mean, this BP story shows you just always look back what already happened, because version B is going to be a bigger version of version A, right? So that Hertz Uber bridge that they built for that first deal may be an indicator of what happens with whatever. But why would I understand that Uber has data, no doubt about it, but why would Uber favor driverless cars given their current structure, right? That's my big question all the time.
They will.
The cost per mile, getting the cost per mile down.
Sure, but I mean, it is sabotaging their drivers, and the drivers then probably prefer. Exactly. I mean, there's so many drivers, at least where I live, who have the Lyft sticker on it and have the Uber sticker on it and have whatever else. So there is competition for them as well.
Yeah, but they don't. I mean, I don't want to sound the wrong way. They don't care as much about. They care about delivering the service at the lowest cost and making the most gross margin. So that's why a lot of these drivers most of them are contract.
It's the classic. It's the classic. Incumbent with legacy technology trying to adopt a new revolutionary technology, and you're going to eat up and cannibalize your current one. If they disrupt that, drivers and passengers, and the drivers are like, I'm going to give you riderless, then yes, they will want that, but then they can lose a lot of drivers, they can lose a lot of business. it depends on how, existential they see this. If it is,
I
then
agree
they'll
with
do
you,
it.
but isn't it crazy? Uber was the disruptor. 10, 15 years ago, Uber was the
Yeah.
disruptor, and now Uber is the one grasping to maybe stay relevant in this whole story.
Okay. So I think that the two biggest events that's going to happen this year, right? One is the Robotaxi rollout, and see how that is. Is it just an announcement? Is it bigger than that? Are we, just moving so fast now with this clarity that this is truly going to happen with FSD, right? The other one is the vote. The vote's going to happen, right? It's already happening now. So people should be voting. If you have Tesla shares, there's proxy votes, and you can go ahead and do that. Go ahead, Alexandra, set us up and tell us more about why this is important.
Yes, so the shareholder meeting is on June 13th, and there are 12 questions that have to be decided on. There's actually 13 votes because the first question is on two people being renewed as board members, Kimball and James Murdoch. So you have to cast 13 votes for 12 questions, and any shareholder that had Tesla shares on April 15th can vote. I think we're going to play in a second a 5-minute video where I explain a little bit how I want to make sure that all retail shareholders that are on X get all the information they need, because we really want to try to get our rate up. So far, about 29% of votes were retail votes in the past years, yet we have about 47.5% of the votes this year. So there is a huge margin for improvement, and we should all strive to help everybody to make that happen. So why is it so important? The two main questions are revoting the 2018 compensation package, and the second is redomesticating the company away from Delaware into Texas. Both are really consequential, but both are not one just because we will get a majority for that. I just want to point that out as well. The higher the majority, the more likely it is we're going to win these. Why? Because they're already put in question in Delaware by some actors who don't want these two to happen, including the counsel of that 9-share plaintiff from the current case that is still out for the initial judgment. So there are really people who want to make sure that neither of those two happen. But if they happen with an overwhelming majority, it's going to be difficult for them in an appeals case, which I think is coming, to stand their grounds. So I really implore everybody who has a voice to please do the extra effort. And we know it is difficult, and we know there are countries, especially in Europe, that make it nearly impossible to vote, but stay on it. Also, I don't think this is the last important vote for the next coming years. With Tesla, there are a couple of topics still on the horizon that can only be addressed once we have the Texas redomestication. So there will be more important votes to come. So if at the moment you are with a broker that doesn't allow you to vote, and if you can change, maybe consider changing to brokers that allow this. And for all this, we've set up a hashtag, and I'm explaining that in that video. If you want to play it now, Herbert, that'd be great.
Okay, good. Very, very, very important. This is probably the most important thing you as a Tesla investor have to do, because this determines the future of Tesla. And that Tesla is already at the brink of incredible success. Don't get confused. I'm going to play a 5-minute video. This is pre-recorded, Alexandra. So we'll do that now.
Hi, good morning. Just want to give you all an update where we are on the voting effort. So last night, I published a poll. Let me share it. There it is. If you are a shareholder on April 15th, have you already voted? And so, setting aside the 6% who didn't participate, about 3/4 of you have voted, but a quarter has not yet voted yet. So I do know, obviously, that it is difficult, especially in Europe. There seems to be quite a few banks in Scandinavia, in Denmark, in the UK, in Switzerland, and in other European countries that make it difficult, and they won't have a path to be able to vote. So, but we're still trying to find solution for all those that are trying to do that. And So can't guarantee we find those solutions, but we're still working on it. And the good thing is we're sharing all this. So what does that mean? We're sharing all that. So we set up a while ago a hashtag called Voted Tesla 24. So if you put into the search engine Voted Tesla 24 or click on that, you will actually see all the people that have already voted or have good information that can be used to vote. But it goes further than that. You can actually search with that hashtag, and that is something that people don't seem to be able to understand yet or haven't used yet. So when you put into your X search on the desktop, it's on the top right. On the mobile, it's a specific function. If you put hashtag voted Tesla 24 and your broker's name, so here in this example, Fidelity, you will find the feed of all those that have commented of how they found solutions for voting with Fidelities. Some have their screenshots. Please don't publish any control numbers, but just this hashtag combination will give you a quick search on your broker name and good advice on how other people managed to vote. The next thing you can do if this doesn't still solve your issues is contact your broker. So what does that mean? Let me just share this just a second. So contact your broker. Ask for the control number for each account. We'll tell them first, of course, that you want to do the proxy votes for Tesla's annual shareholder meeting, and they will then be able to find your control numbers. These control numbers are highly confidential. Don't share them with anybody, and you should have a control number for each account. So make sure that if they send it to you by email, that you have as many control numbers as you have accounts. Then once you have those control numbers, go to proxyvote.com. Careful, not .org, not an S at the end. Those are all spams. Proxyvote.com, and use each control number to enter it. And then please go back to X and with the hashtag VotedTesla24, keep us updated that worked, because that will then help other people. But that is the most efficient way to actually get your voting material. If you wait for it to be coming in the mail or for them to send emails that could go to the spam, that usually doesn't vote. Now, for all those that have voted, I would like still to ask you for more. And I mean, anybody can do that, so don't be shy about that. So most of you have some form of index funds or have pension funds with the big fund managers, and are not aware that the way they vote actually get published. It gets published on the SEC website. And so if you go to my pinned post on X, I have a thread of four posts where I explain how to make it very easy to write to your fund manager and let them know that we're watching. We know what they're doing. They shouldn't just feel comfortable in being able to vote. We will trace and see what they've voted, and also give them good reasons why they should vote with the recommendations of the board. So I've prepared a standard letter. You can use that, or you can, of course, alter it. I've given you their email addresses, including their management's email addresses. And there's also a list of all the ETF that currently hold some Tesla shares, if you're interested in that. So those have voted and those have not voted can, in any case, still do this part to write to your fund managers and make sure we are watching how they are going to vote in their proxies. So thank you very much. Looking forward to all these results. I hope we can beat the usual retail investor stake. That is we're about 47.5% of the votes this year. 52.5% are institutional. Some of the big institutions have already expressed that they will vote on the critical issues with the board. But in old times, only 29% of the retail votes came through, just because it is difficult. People didn't know how to vote. So we're really hoping to improve that number this year. It's important. A deal is a deal. I'm counting on you. Thanks a lot. Take care.
Nice. You did such a great job, Alexandra. A deal's a deal. There's a lot of info you shared that I didn't know. You're teaching me how to use X. Go ahead. Thank you for setting that up. What is it? Voted Tesla 24. That's a great hashtag. And then you can even put in quotation marks, Fidelity or whatever your broker is.
Exactly, and people use it a lot. I'm really happy about it. The thousands and thousands of hashtags already in there. We were actually trending. I think it was last Friday when lots of people used it. It was one of the trending hashtags. So I mean, we still have one thing I didn't say this morning. We have until June the 12th. So we still have about 5 weeks to vote. I just don't want to lose this energy around this, because the earlier you voted, the better it is. The earlier you're on the back of your brokers to send you those control numbers, the quicker it's done. So I just want to make sure. And same with the fund managers. The fund managers will actually vote only at the last minute. They usually only vote very late. And they're waiting for some of those proxy advisors, especially the smaller ones. So about 2 weeks prior, so by the end of May now, we will know what ISS and Glasshouse will recommend. I don't expect anything positive from them, but we'll see. Maybe we have a good surprise. So there's still a lot of things coming, and the earlier we have voted. The last thing I want to say on this subject is, if by any chance you have published your control numbers, I hope you have deleted them since, but they were out there and there are some bad actors that are really after them. If that was your case, then please on June 12th, go back to your vote, same way with your control number, go back in, because you can actually re-vote up to June the 12th and make sure that your original votes are still intact the way you wanted them, because anybody with a control number could have altered your votes. So make sure at the last day that they're still up to what you wanted to vote for.
Thank you, Alexandra. Big one. So do you guys agree that these are the two biggest events that's going to happen? The vote on June 13th, the big Robotaxi event on 8/8. Not saying that 8/8 itself is a big event. It's just that, what it represents, right? It represents Tesla saying we are now going to launch a Robotaxi service. And at some point in the future, this is going to be a thing, a real thing, live. And it's a big deal. It's like, you remember that quote that I said at the very beginning where Elon said, this is the biggest transformation, in history that's possibly out there. Do you guys think that those are the two biggest things that we're expecting for the rest of the year?
For sure. Consequential.
Yeah.
Just nodding, Jeff?
Yeah, trying to be the strong silent type.
Yeah, like if you think about it, the company is transforming. Elon and the team have positioned it that's where it's going, and we've been fed all of this FUD about Elon's gonna leave. I just look at what's happened. If anything, he's upset, and he is doing what the company, and what the shareholders should be ecstatic that he's so swift in his decision making. And yes, perhaps it's a little bit heavy-handed. I obviously feel for people that losing their jobs, but Jeff, hot mic. We hear you breathing. So I think that he's just continuing to push forward the fact that we're going into this world that is going to become a robotaxi. I think that's the most exciting thing. That this is why I invested. This is why many people have invested. It's not for the cars. So the spend that they're doing on GPUs and it's incredible. So I think it's important to vote. I really don't understand how anyone can take back like Alexandra closed with. A deal is a deal. It's how can even institutionals, it would just hurt them if they're holding the stock. It's not going to be a good reaction, I would gather.
Yep.
Jeff, you were not the strong silent type. You're the strong heavy breather type.
I was taking a breath in. I apologize for breathing on air. I won't let it happen again.
Yeah.
And did you hear me screaming? Did you hear me screaming? Because we just heard from Omar that 2024.8. whatever it is going to get version 12. So
how many people are in that branch? How many people?
40% of FSD of cars. 40. Wow. 40. Exactly.
No.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Oh, yes, it is. I tell you.
So 40%?
Yeah.
40% don't have V12. So
exactly. Are still on V11, including yours truly. So I tell you, I'm going to go to my car as soon as we're done and making sure that everything is set to get it. I can't wait.
Drive
Okay,
to
well,
a service center.
Yeah, I know, Jeff, but I don't want to play the, I'm privileged. I know. I
No.
want you
Different thing. If you I hope I'm not like speaking out of school here, but I've experienced where I've gone and pressed and say, "Do I have an update?" And it says, "No, you don't have one." And then I drove to the service center, actually for an unrelated reason. As I pulled in and I connected to their Wi-Fi, it literally went out and checked again for
Oh.
updates, and then it started updating my car.
Oh, I'll do that.
So-
I'm not far, so that's fine. That's
Anyway,
easier.
so yeah, if
Okay.
you check and you get nothing, maybe try that.
Whenever I have no solution, comes Jeff, and my life is good again.
Jeff has all these little tricks.
He's
All right.
good.
Including
So
breathing.
let's talk.
We all
Don't
do.
breathe, Jeff. Stop it. Let's talk Optimus. So, this is another potential big thing that could happen at the end of this year. We talked about partnerships. We talked about Robotaxi. We got the big vote happening. Could something happen with Optimus? You've got this guy named Smokeaway published this Optimus production ramp. 2024, he said maybe 1,000 bots this year, Optimus. 10,000 next year. 1 million 2027, 1 billion 2030. Elon Musk said not quite that fast, but not far wrong. So go back to this. I mean, obviously, certainly the 1,000 could not be that. It could be that that's a little short. Like, I mean, you could take it two ways, right? You can say, well, 1,000 is more likely, but 1 billion, no way, impossible. Or the opposite. I just interviewed, Rethink X, Adam Dorr, and he said actually the opposite, which is you're probably going to be less here, but it's going to be more than 1 billion, which is the opposite of what almost everybody's saying.
I just think that there's a huge gap between 100 million and 1 billion.
Yeah.
So I think that that's really what he means, is that kind of a jump is probably a little aggressive, but yeah, we could. Didn't he say there's gonna be like 2 to 3 bots per human eventually?
Mm-hmm. Eventually. But let's talk about this. So 1,000 bots 2024. Jeff, you said recently, 1,000 bots is not scale. It's not mass scale. That's doable. But then you've also said previously, 1,000 bots is a lot. So 1,000 bots at the end of the year, we saw 12 in the lab, right? We saw at least 12. And then there's a question whether or not it's design locked. And then you said, well, they can still make 1,000 even if it's not design locked, design complete, because he talked about taking the hands and making it from 11 degrees of freedom, which is what it is now, to 22 degrees of freedom. Do they need to wait till they get that done, which is the end of this year, before they make 1,000? Could they do it sooner? Because imagine if they did make 1,000 by the end of this year, and you already have some bots in their factory doing useful work, which several Tesla engineers said is going to happen. Useful work by the end of this year. That's what they're shooting for. But then if you have 1,000 or even 500 at the factory doing useful work before the end of this year, isn't that enough to show the world, to show investors, at least some portion of investors, that, hey, this is a real deal?
And the later the better. I don't mind at all if the people don't get it yet. I had this week, this discussion with Warren Buffett should invest. I don't think so. I mean, he will come late. It doesn't matter. If Warren Buffett would invest today, of course, the stock would go up. And I know lots of people are happy if the stock goes up. But that means if you want to buy more, you're going to pay much more. So the typical dividend investors, they shouldn't be in Tesla. Tesla is still going through a very innovative startup phase now. Yes, in the huge size of a startup, no doubt. Probably now down to 120,000 employees, but that's a huge startup. But not everybody needs to understand it in the next couple of months. They will understand it in 2 or 3 years in a brutal manner. So, don't be impatient to make sure that people that don't have the mindset to understand Tesla, to understand it now. First of all, it would be a huge effort. And then we have these people in the community again, trying to teach Elon. I mean, it makes me laugh if I even say that, how to run a company or how to be a prudent CEO or whatever. That's exactly what we don't need. So I'm in no hurry whatsoever to have more traditional huge investors in there, including institutionals. Coming back to the vote, at the moment, institutionals have 52.5% of the eligible vote, because obviously Elon, Kimball, and all these people are not allowed to vote on these issues. That's now confirmed. So we're 47.5 to 52.5. Now just imagine we would be in a GM scenario where institutionals are at 80%. The fact that, retail investors vote when you are maximum 20%, which actually shows that retail investors are more intelligent than institutionals, but that's another point. But it's good that it's not more, because we do have a couple of these big ones with us, so there is a good chance that we'll get to the majority. But can you imagine if the whole weight would be much more on that side? I'm also looking forward, just at that point, on the replacement of Martin. That Martin's going to leave the company, I guess, after the shareholder meetings, about the time he announced. And we'll see who is going to be in charge of IR, because that is going to show whether Elon really cares about these institutional investors or not, because that's the main job of IR, the way Tesla does define it. Remember when the Cybertruck was out, Martin was doing tours in New York to show the car to big institutional investors and all that. So we'll see whether the focus is on institutional investors or not.
I've got I want to go to a little tiny rant here. Maybe it won't be rant level, but let me just explain a little thing. So my background is in product and starting companies, and I see what Elon is doing, and I see how he thinks. So first of all, just to be very clear, so nobody gets us confused, when you create a product and you create a business, you should absolutely do marketing. Word of mouth marketing is number one. And then secondly is advertising. You should advertise to do education. Absolutely true. But word of mouth marketing is the most powerful way to get your product sold out there. And so word of mouth marketing happens when you build a great product. Now, you remember all those people that kept saying that Tesla should be advertising? Well, because they think that the number one business that Tesla has is selling cars. Absolutely true. I'm absolutely still on that camp. You should advertise to sell cars. But don't you think you understand what Elon is thinking? The way to build a great product, a great company, is to build the greatest product you can imagine. And now he's not only creating the greatest car, right, which is what we're worried about. He's also now creating bots. He's also now creating energy. He's now also creating Robotaxi. So if you focus your attention on the product, revolutionary products, it solves many problems. There's this a saying for many startup people that revenue solves many problems. So we're in this stage because we saw revenue, not growing as fast. Margins are falling. Everybody comes out of the woodwork going, Elon, you should be doing this. You should be doing that. What does he do? Focus on the product. Create the greatest product out there, launch Robotaxi, launch the bot. You'll see revenue skyrocket. You'll see margins skyrocket. And do you think people would be complaining that, why didn't you do more advertising to sell cars to people when that whole business model is going to be upended? They may not need to sell cars to people anymore. Now, I still think it's just a small amount of money. He should have still done it. Don't go at me. He should educate. I'm not saying you shouldn't do that, but I'm just saying you could follow along the way Elon is thinking about this whole thing.
Top line heals all.
It does. It does. The cash is king. That's always been it.
Yeah, we agree with you, Herbert.
Yeah. And here we are. Isn't it great that we're talking about bots being sold next year? Robotaxi is going to be planned in a pilot and going to start launching.
And if it takes time to show in the revenues, it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter.
That we're going to have more affordable cars coming next year. That we have the Cybertruck, best product ever created, skyrocket, like everybody wants it. All these celebrities are trying to sell this thing. The energy business that Tesla has is already in massive demand now. They're already behind in terms of the sales. What's going to happen next year? What's going to happen 3 years from now? What's going to happen when data centers become the biggest problem? They're all going to need this. It's just, again, Tesla set up properly. He needs to now pick and choose which of these businesses he wants to be in, Tesla should be in, and Superchargers, let's spread it out. Let as many companies do this and let them should get the revenue. But the whole goal is to get this global as fast as possible. You don't need to control it as one company.
Yeah, Herbert, we get all of this, but I'm still surrounded by people that send me articles with like I just while we were watching Alexandra's video, saw from a childhood friend of mine. Oh, if LiDAR, if Elon goes to LiDAR, and oh my God, and I'm like, ground truthing. Do you even read the article or just the headlines or like? But they just want to see Elon, and it's specific to Elon. It's not Tesla. They're just they want to see him stumble and want to see him fall. And the reality is, look at where we're going. All the things you listed, even the energy thing. I saw a chart this morning of how much energy California uses and how much of it is solar and wind and all of this other stuff. And that's the core of Tesla's business. Yeah, it had like a big circle in the center, but not quite this one. But yeah, it's just it's incredible, and the amount of FUD is not going to stop. And us shareholders just look forward and look big picture. This minutia of these little nonstop FUD articles, especially during this election year, it's just he picked on a gorilla, and we're you're going to see them fight back. And he warned us, but look at the decision making. It's incredible in my opinion.
Okay, that's fun. You can breathe again, Jeff.
Requesting permission to breathe. I forgot the original question, so
that's okay.
I'm sitting here in a green.
Yeah. There was no question. It was just me going on a little tiny. Product. My point is just simply, product is what matters. Create the greatest product you can have that sells through word of mouth marketing, and then disrupt the previous, business you're in or whatever other people are in, and just keep creating new products that keep selling like crazy. So, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, but they're not like creating a walled garden like Apple did, and
that's why it's different.
Like the product is so good that it's different than the reality that we're fed. So I think that I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
All
right. Yeah. How many big partnerships do you guys think will be announced by the end of this year? 1, 3, or 5?
I'll be closer to 3, I think.
Okay. Alexandra?
The question is, well, how do you define partnership? For me, the BP thing today is not a partnership, right? It's
no.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and hotels and whatever, that's not partnership. Partnerships really mean FSD, right? Or maybe a common Robotaxi fleet or whatever.
It's a Tesla announced partnership.
So I will stay prudent with 1.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, I'll take the 5.
Okay, there we go.
Everything we just said at the very beginning.
Jeff wins like always.
How many partners do they have now, Herbert?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't know the number, but my point of the whole show was that we're going to see many, many more partners now than we've ever seen in the history, because everything we're talking about is just skyrocketing, specifically Robotaxi.
Well,
especially as they launch.
Would you consider the NACS, the charging
Yes. Yes.
I think those as partnerships? So we already have 15 partnerships or 20 partnerships, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
These are partnerships of Tesla announced relationships with other parties that they partnered together. And I just think it's going to accelerate like crazy for the next 3 months.
You'd ask me in 2 years, I'll probably say 20. The question is, when is number 1?
Okay. See, I like. Hold on, you're saying partnership. I think of like revenue splitting when I think of partnership. So
my preferred subject.
Yeah. So I don't know if if having an ACS standard on their cars is a partner in my mind. But
Good point. All right. Thank you guys very much. That was a fun episode. We covered a lot of ground. Thank you very much. See you soon. Bye, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.